Today, my friends, if you guys are struggling to find a Town Hall 11 attack strategy that does not use the Seige Barrack, well, in this video, we're going to be going over and breaking down 5 unique Town Hall 11 strategies that do not use the Seige Barrack. So that's right, guys, we are going over 5 strategies here at Town Hall 11 that do not use the Seige Barrack. And I did get a comment on that before, and even though not a lot of people have been talking about that, people have always asked me about a specific strategy and doing it without a Seige Barrack. So this is a very possible way. I have 2 other videos though that are still very effective and very helpful in terms of learning a Yeti bomb. Since it won't be in this video, I have some cards up in the right hand corner, the top right hand corner, to definitely check out. Those 2 videos on Yeti Bomb Queen Walk Miners and Yeti Bomb Hybrid are just some of the greatest examples I have there in terms of using the blimp with a Yeti Bomb. So as an extension to this video, that is definitely another video that you guys should definitely watch after this one. But this one will give you guys a lot of unique strategies other than hybrid. So I know hybrid is everywhere in the meta. You're seeing it everywhere on YouTube. If a Town Hall 11 creator like me, is definitely doing those and saying it's the best strategy. And of course it is. But there are other strategies out there that are just as effective, and they work much more against anti-2s and anti-3s. So that is why I'm making this video, in order to help you guys improve in base identification, and also to help you guys with strategies that really don't use a Seige Barrack. So the one that we're starting off with here is Drag Clone. So Drag Clone is a very simple strategy to use. And I want to quickly, very briefly go through it. So what you're doing is you are using a Queen Walk, which is something a little bit different in terms of a Drag Clone. So what you're doing is you're creating one side of the funnel with the Archer Queen. So you're using a Queen Walk on this side of the base. What you're also doing on the opposite side is you are using the king to create this side of the funnel. So what you're doing is you are making pathing that looks a little bit like this for your dragons. So what that means is you are going to send in your blimp into the Inferno, or really any other area, but you want to make sure that you are also sending in your dragons at that same time. So you may want to drop in the slammer first because it has more health, and then drop in your dragons and stuff as they start to move in. And that is what the blue here is supposed to symbolize. Outside of that, you get an idea of what you're doing. And you guys should probably know how to do an Electron. You're just going to drop the Rage before that slammer or blimp pops, and then you're going to use the clone spell over the balloons. And that is definitely going to allow you to clone the balloons. If you clone the E-Drag by accident, you should be fine, especially if there's a lot of chain value. Now, keep in mind that this is an anti-3-star base, so we do see the Town Hall right over there on the outside. However, this does still work against ring bases. So if you're seeing those anti-2-star bases, you can use a blimp, and you could actually look at where the Town Hall is, which it should be in the center, and what you're going to do is basically use it to create a funnel. You're not looking for like an air defense, even though it's nice. You're trying to look for an area where you can actually clear a funnel inside the base. What that will allow you to do is just use a Queen Walk on the other side, use the king on the outside to clear up any trash buildings, and then sending your dragons in straight through. Really, really simple, and it gives you guys a really solid idea of what you should try to do when you are using this strategy. So it gives you guys a really solid idea of kind of what I'm trying to talk about here. So you'll see from this example is that what we are doing is we're making sure that we are funneling our queen using the baby dragon, which is always going to be a really good one, and you want to make sure that you're funneling your queen in the right direction. On top of that, you're also going to be using the king over here on the opposite side to create that side of the funnel. So you'll see that as we're sending in the slammer, then you're going to send in those dragons in there. So you may think, what about the balloons? You really don't need to have the balloons going in with your dragons. But that is going to be the whole thing. So when you're dealing with these anti-3-star bases, it's still pretty simple. And if you're planning on using the slammer, definitely I would use this like a regular mass dragon attack with the slammer. So you want to make sure that you're using your Electron while you're sending in your dragons. So basically, if your dragons and the slammer pop are near each other, definitely clone in those balloons and do the Electron while the dragons, or with the dragons. Basically what that means is you should still have an E-Drag still up, and you should be able to easily get through the base, especially if you are able to get a lot of value from the Electro, and it can really net you some to even a lot of value depending on how you use it. So of course, anti 3-star bases, I would definitely say the Stone Slammer is the best way, unless you're able to get value from the Blimp. Other than that, I would use the Blimp with this strategy, as it is a lot more effective and you can really get 3 stars a lot quicker. Hopefully that kind of gives you guys the sort of breakdown that you guys are looking for. It may not be an anti-3, but I still wanted to give you guys something, you know, keep in mind, it's fresh in your mind. It's a tip, but hopefully that you guys can take that and definitely apply it to your attacks. So let's go ahead and take a look at our second attack strategy that we have here for you guys, which is Packable Bat. So guys, we are back with the second one, and what we've got here for you guys is Packable Bat. So I know I just recently did a video on Packable Bat, but this is still a great strategy that you guys can use against anti-3 stars. Against anti-2s, you're going to look for those more compact anti-2-star bases. Don't go against open bases. Definitely wouldn't use this with this strategy, but I would definitely use this, especially if you are going up against those compact anti-2 stars, as usually the Town Hall will be in the center and it's going to give easy pathing for the Wall Wrecker. So that kind of gives you guys a really good way. So you want to really look at where that Wall Wrecker pathing would go, and then you need to look for a couple things. You need to look at the Eagle, the Infernos. You also need to take a look at Wizard Towers, and also you need to look at where the CC is, because you still want to deal with that. So those 4 things are going to be extremely important. Now, what's another strategy that could have been used on this base? In my personal opinion, though, Drag Bat wouldn't have been as effective, as even if you were to send it in here, you really wouldn't be getting too much. So we do have that one coming up pretty soon, but a big thing in terms of this is just understanding everything of this one. So a good focus for you guys to really try is using the King to create the funnel over on this side, and then using a Queen walk to walk your Queen up, and then sending in the Slammer as everything starts to go in. That is a great way to create the other side of the funnel. You're doing a bit of a longer walk, but you're getting some value from that walk, even if, you know, you're not getting like a ton. So that is really going to be the big thing there. And then all you would really need to do is just drop your bats in as a bat wave, and you're really good to go. You just want to make sure that you're getting something from your bat wave. And your bats don't need to completely wreck the whole base to get a 3-star for it to be successful. You just need to make sure that you are allowing yourself to clear out a good chunk of the base with the bats, and then you'll have an easy time for the rest of your attack that's left in order to clear up the rest of the base. And that's really all it is. So you'll see on both sides here on what we're trying to do is we're allowing our Queen to walk in this direction. So we need to use a baby dragon in order to funnel that area out. That is the big thing. You need to make sure that you're funneling your Queen. And don't think of this as a charge. It's not a charge. It is just a walk that you're allowing yourself to charge into the base after you've done your walk. And after that, you're just, you know, you're sending in your Wall Wrecker with everything else. That's what you're going to be doing to charge into the base. But what you're typically doing here is you're just going to try and create that funnel. If you need to pop the ability, if you don't want to use any of the rage spells, then that's perfectly fine. But you want to make sure that you are successfully creating the funnel in order for the P.E.K.K.A.s and the bowlers to drive into the base. Unlike here, what you'll see is that a lot of those bowlers are going to move onto the outside, or, you know, most of them will split here. Bowlers are really hard to funnel in, so you need to make sure that you are keeping an eye out there with them. Now, I want to just go into one times because I want to explain a couple things. Right here, you see that the Warden did pop his ability. If you are going up against singles, I would bring an Ice Golem and put it right in front of that Multi-Inferno, or in front of the Wall Wrecker. Outside of that, you really want to make sure that you're... I'm sorry, if you're popping that Wall Wrecker, or, you know, you want to make sure that that Wall Wrecker doesn't pop early. So here it was completely fine because it still opened up something and you still had P.E.K.K.A.s up. Another big thing is that with the Warden, you want to make sure that you're popping that around sort of the, as you're starting to move in, or when it's like around yellow in health. That is going to allow you to get something from the Warden and protecting a lot of stuff. Now you'll see here is that we've got the Bat Wave going in, and I'll keep it at half speed in order for you guys to understand it a little bit. but you'll see that the bat wave, we're just allowing ourselves to get something out of our bats. And even though it may feel like we are going to lose a lot of them, especially if we're late on our free spells, it's still fine. You just need to make sure that you are freezing up those defenses, especially against expos that aren't being overwhelmed, and they can definitely cause a problem. So sometimes it may be best to freeze them. It really just depends on the base. Other than that though, that is really how you guys can use your bats in terms of a bat wave. If you're going up against anti-2s, it's really not that hard. I even planned one of them for a Town Hall 10, and it went just as well, and it was against the anti-3-star, or an anti-2-star base, but with the Town Hall kind of semi-offset. It was kind of interesting, but it was like one of those common bases. Other than that, though, it's a really good example to show you guys here, and definitely a good way to break it down here for you guys. Now, one thing I want to ask you guys really quickly as well is, would you guys want to see a video or a series of me helping you guys plan? Like doing some drawing on the screen and stuff? Let me know in the comments below. I'd really like to see it. Maybe getting some screenshots from Discord and then putting them together as a video and just drawing on them, drawing a plan, and seeing what my base identification is when I help plan in my own Discord server. But let's go ahead and move on into the next example, or the next strategy here, which we are going to be looking at Electron. So that's right, guys, we are going over Electron Lalo next. This strategy is literally everywhere in the meta, and of course you're using the blimp, you're not using those Seige Barrack. So it's a really good way to really get value for your Electron. So what are you doing with this one? Now keep in mind that this does still work against anti-3s, and it's actively shown that it definitely works against them, but it also works against anti-2-star bases. As I said at the beginning of the video, you know, you guys can actually use an Electron to gut an entire area and create a funnel. I do this with Drag Clone at Town Hall 13, and it's literally one of the strongest ways to create one side of the funnel. And you could do both the Electron and Drag Clone at Town Hall 13. So it's really good that you guys can do that at Town Hall 10 or Town Hall 11. I almost said Town Hall 10. And you can use this and really be very effective with all of these strategies. So Drag Clone and even Electron, like we see right here, is going to be very strong, especially against those anti-2-stars. Now, when you're using this, you want to look at where the Town Hall is. So that is going to be the base identification. So what you're looking for, especially within the Lava Loon, is going to be the enemy CC, the enemy Queen, and also, you know, any sort of air defenses or really any air targeting value. This doesn't mean that you have to go for an Inferno. It really just depends on where the Queen sits and also where the enemy CC is. And that's going to determine on where you're going in. Now, if you notice where you can get some value from entering into the base like you see right here, if we sort of, you know, maybe attack from this section, then we can get some sort of value if we're sending the blimp in. However, we have a sweeper. The sweeper here is definitely going to be a nuisance, especially if we just instantly send in the blimp. So what we want to do is, if you see that there is a if you see that there's a sweeper in range of your blimp pathing, use a freeze. Bring a freeze and freeze over the Queen if it's close enough, and freeze up the air sweeper. It's never going to be a bad moment to freeze it up, because you're going to be getting the value anyways from the Electron. Now, on top of that, you're using 2 clones. Where is the value of 2 clones? Well, you're going to be basically cloning up so many more loons in order to allow your entire attack to really make its way around the base. And it's going to just allow your Electro Dragon to have, you know, a wall basically between the E-Drag and the Queen and anything else. So definitely it's a big help, and it could definitely take out defenses, especially underneath the Rage. So what you're going to see here, and I want to quickly go over this, it's just going over the Suai Hero. So you'll see from right here, just dropping in the Suai Hero. We don't really care where they go as long as they're clearing up a section of the base for us. What this means is we're just trying to make sure that we are getting some sort of value from it, which means Suai Hero. We're trying to create a funnel for the Electro Dragon. We do not want the E-Drag to move on to the outside after dealing with it. So we want to make sure that it stays on the inside for as much as possible. And that is even the same idea with the drag, or not with a drag clone, but it's going to be the same thing when you're using this against anti-3 or against anti-2 stars. You want to make sure that you are allowing your electron to stay in the base. So you want to make sure that's a little bit deeper into the base too, like you see right here. It's deeper set into the base in order for you to clear out an entire section. That's what you're doing with this one. So notice how that entire compartment was completely gutted. And what that means is if we pause it right here, we can see that we have lava loon pathing kind of like around here. So it's kind of like this, I mean, minus the mortar there. It's pretty easy pathing. You guys get the idea. But we gutted out this entire section right here. So we got a lot of good value from the electron, and that's what you're aiming for with this. So keep that in mind. It's a really great way in order for you guys to really learn to use the electron. And I do have a video on it. Remember to check the cards. It's a really good video in terms of explaining it. So you'll see from here is that the lava loon isn't as difficult. All you're doing is making sure that you're sending in the hounds to tank for those balloons and sending them in groups. So sending them in two, like, you know, 3, 4, 5 in terms of number of balloons per group. And then haste spells, you should be using those to get them to those next key defenses, like Infernos, Wizard Towers, Archer Towers, really anything that's going to be causing them a lot of damage, and you want to make sure that you get to them sooner, including air defenses. So those are always going to be good, and that's the reason why you want to use those haste spells every so often. So don't spam them. Make sure that you are getting value from those haste spells. But hopefully that kind of helps you guys a little bit. Just remember though, I do have a video already on Electro and Lalo, so I suggest that you guys check that out up there in the cards. Definitely, it's a really good video. But let's go ahead and move on into our next example, which is going to be Drag Bat. So we've got our fourth replay, and what we're going to be looking at here is Drag Bat. So Drag Bat can be used against anti-3s, anti-2s, super easy. So the big thing here though is if you're seeing anti-2s, I would highly suggest using 2 E-Drags because it's a great way for you to create the funnel on the inside, or if you want to, you can bring either a super wall breaker on one side and then just have your queen sort of funnel out the other side thanks to her range, but using the king to go into the base, that's another really good option for you guys. Outside of that, using 2 Electro Dragons is not a bad idea, especially since most of the time there's chain value in ring bases. On top of this, if you can find an area where you can get stuff like a bunch of wizard towers, or if it's a little bit more open to where you can definitely move your way in and get wizard towers, that's a really good thing. So what you're looking for in a base design in order to use this is you're just looking for basically any splash damage that you can get with your drag bat or your dragon portion as you move into the base. Super simple. So the big thing that you want to do is create the funnel. Like you see right here, this is a great area for an E-Drag. So this area can be chained. So it can either be like this or really any combination. But the big thing here is it does go diagonal. So that is going to be one of the bigger things. So if you see right here, you can chain that. So just keep that in mind. Like this area here is definitely chainable. So you really want to try and take advantage of that entire area because you can really get a lot of value from your E-Drag. And then if you're planning on using a Suai Hero on the other side, I would totally use the Super Wall Breaker. It's a great way for you guys to break into the base, and not just that, but you can actively use that to get something like a multi-inferno. Great value for really minimal cost of just using your heroes. Really good, and that's actually one of the bits of value that you really want to get. You definitely want to get the Infernos, the Wizard Tower, the Eagle, really anything that you can get as you're driving into the base is extremely important. So as you're sending your dragons, hold on, let's change that color. As you're sending the dragons in, you should be trying to get as much of the value down as possible. So if we look at if we're entering into a base here for an anti-2 star, if we're entering into the base with the dragons like this, then what we're trying to do is we're going to be getting rid of the wizard towers here. We're going to be able to work our way down here, and then we could just bat bomb this one inferno, and that's it. That's all we have to do. So just consider that, keep that in mind, and that's going to help you guys improve your attacks, improve your base identification, and hopefully it allows you guys to easily, much more easily, get 3 stars at Town Hall 11. So just remember though, when you guys are using this, is that you want to make sure that you are clearing the funnel, no matter if you're using 2 E-Drags or if you're using 1 E-Drag in the Suai Hero. So if you are going to do that, then I would definitely suggest bringing in a Super Wall Breaker. It's a great way to break in, no matter if it's an anti-2 or an anti-3. The next best thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that after you're doing that, then you drop in your dragons, your balloons, and then your slammer right behind them, and that's going to allow you to sort of send everything into the base. Make sure that you have your Grand Warden behind them in order to sort of go through. Now that siege or the siege machine here, the stone slammer, is going to have those reinforcements of balloons, so you want to make sure that you're protecting that with the Warden ability. So that means that when you're, what qualifies to use the Warden ability? So you're basically going to be using the Warden ability around sort of them going into the core of the base. So make sure that what you're doing is you're using the Warden ability in order to protect all of those troops underneath his aura, in order to sort of get some sort of value from them. And not just that, but you're trying to make sure that they are staying protected, especially under the Eagle fire, or if there's any air defense fire, or if there are any seeking air mines. Now here's another really good thing here, and I want to play it on half speed so you guys see it. Rage, freeze, bat bomb. This is considered a bat bomb, and this is the strongest way to actively use a bat or use bats in the game. So this is definitely a great way for you guys to clear up a section, especially a multi-infernal compartment. Now remember, this works against singles too. I did a video on singles not too long ago, so I'd suggest you guys watch that video as well. It's another card in there, but it's definitely such a great strategy to use and really to try out. So as far as I can say here, you're getting a lot of value from your bats and stuff like that, and it's definitely extremely important for you guys to really understand all of that. Now, another quick thing I want to quickly mention before we move on to the next one, the weakness to those bats are not just splash, but it's also going to be red air bombs. Like you see right here, one bat does survive that, but that is just a common mistake sometimes. Then that's maybe sometimes the reason why you fail an attack. Your attack thins out and you have no more bats. So really just keep that in mind when you're using this. Outside of that, you guys really know and understand how you guys can use this against both anti-3 stars and anti-2 stars, and you know, you're not using the Seige Barrack. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and move on into our last example, which is going to be Suai Hero Mass Hog. So that's right, guys, we are going over our final example, which is going to be using a Suai Hero into Mass Hog. So what does that mean? Well, what you're doing is you're using a Suai Hero. Either you're using a Suai King or you're using both heroes, and you're going in to get the enemy queen and CC. If the king is nearby, awesome value there. So that is what you're looking for. So as I zoomed in here, these are the things that you're looking for. So you're looking for the queen, you're looking for the CC, and if you can get the king, awesome value. It's not really necessary, but it's nice to have. Another big thing is what you're trying to do is you're mainly trying to make sure that you are getting rid of those, and then you can just spam your hogs and everywhere else. And if you're dealing with the damage CC, make sure that you're using that poison spell on top of the damage CC, no matter if it's a baby dragon, Valkyrie, stuff like that. You want to make sure that you are getting through that damage CC. Other than that, you should be able to really easily wreck a lot of bases. And this does use the Stone Slammer. So the Stone Slammer's job here is to kind of, you know, be sent in as a defensive seeking troop. So basically you're just going to be sending it in as any regular one after you sort of create some sort of funnel, and then you're going to just send in your Hog Riders right behind it, or from then on after. Surgically, if you want, you could spam them in too. Outside of that, you're using the Stone Slammer there, and when it pops, you can either have miners in there or you can have more Hog Riders in there. It's going to be up to you. Outside of that, you should be able to really easily wreck a lot of bases, especially if the ring bases have the queen on the outside of the base, and you could get some easy value, including that if there is the enemy CC, which is lurable as well. Now, on this base design here, what we're going to be seeing as I play it right now, we are going to be seeing, first of all, the Suai King with a couple ice golems. So the reason that we're using ice golems in order to tank for the king as we start to sort of get rid of the enemy queen and the enemy king in order to make sure that we are sort of clearing out this section. So we want to make sure that we're dealing with the balloon in the Lava Hound CC, because the Lava Hound really isn't a problem, it's just a balloon. Outside of that, we want to make sure that we're taking care of the enemy CC, and we're dealing with that very, very easily. And all you can see right here, we're getting some sort of value. On the other side, though, we're using the queen. So this is what Kebab is doing here. So he wants to make sure that he's creating two sides of the funnel. Or not just that, but just getting value. Just making sure that he's creating pathing for his Hog Riders. Outside of that, you're going to use the Stone Slammer. You can either use it first, you can either use it later, but the idea here was because there's defenses on the outside that could definitely lure his hogs to stay on the outside, he wants to make sure that he's dropping in the Slammer first, and that's going to go in, and then he can have the balloons go in, or the Hog Riders go in that direction. And what that means is the hogs will sort of meet up with the Stone Slammer at some point, and eventually be able to use that Slammer in order to sort, or the, either the miners or the Hog Riders in there to sort of help you go through. Now the Grand Warden should be used earlier on because especially hogs are a little bit more fragile, so you definitely want to make sure that you're getting value from those Hog Rider, or from the Warden ability, so you want to make sure that you're using it earlier as they're pushing into the core. Another thing is, heal spells should be used over things like splash damage and hefty point defenses. This includes things like Tesla farms, like a lot of like DP or damage or single target damage on them. Another thing is multi-infernos, wizard towers, giant bombs. Those are always going to be very, very important to take out. Tesla farms are definitely one of the bigger things to deal with as well. Sometimes they may have a giant bomb right by or right in there, but usually they won't. So it's really going to depend on the base. And another quick thing I would mention with this one is, since you guys, some of you guys probably see anti-3 or anti-2-star bases, then this is another really good strategy because you can really get a lot of value if you break in, whether that's using a jump or even if you're using super wall breakers. It's a great way to break in. So I think as far as that, you guys still get the picture of using this strategy, and hopefully this kind of helps you guys choose the right one. So definitely, as far as I can say before we end off the video, I want to quickly just talk to you guys about base identification with this one. Make sure that you're looking for the enemy CC and queen if you can easily lure it out, or if you need a jump spell to sort of move your queen and king into the base, do it, because you're going to get more value that way. Other than that though, should be an easy way to 3-star with this one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you guys did learn a lot from it. So definitely, hopefully you guys did enjoy it and learn something, of course. But remember to leave a like on the video. It really does mean a lot. Also, don't forget to go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss anything, and also to join the Corrupt fam. If you guys want to support me further, feel free to check out the channel membership and definitely join as one, or even subscribe to me on Twitch, or even buying any merch from my Playmakers Wanted store. Another thing is, feel free to go ahead and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and also on Twitch and MadCat, as I'm streaming on both of those platforms. So definitely feel free if you guys want to check out any of my streams there. And don't forget to join my community Discord and join any of the clans I'm covering within the game here. Definitely just make sure that you're following what recruitment says for them. With that being said, guys, that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Be seeing you guys next time. Corrupt, signing out.